Here's a quick question to kick this off. When you don't know how something is going to turn out, a decision, a conversation, a direction your team is heading, what happens inside of you? For most people, the answer involves some version of the same thing. Discomfort, a pull toward getting more information, a need to plan further ahead, a low-level hum of anxiety until there's an answer. That feeling? That's uncertainty. And most people think uncertainty is the problem. But here's the distinction I want to make today, and it's the one that Principle 1 of Weird Wisdom is built on. Uncertainty isn't the thing itself. It's your response to the thing. The thing is the unknown. And those two very different problems with two very different solutions. Let me draw this out clearly, because I think it matters more than it might look at first glance. An unknown is simply a gap. Information that doesn't exist yet, or that you don't have access to. The outcome of a decision that hasn't been made, maybe the response from a person you haven't spoken to, or the result of a project still in progress. The unknown is external. It's real. It's just not yet resolved. Uncertainty is what happens inside you when you encounter that gap. It's the feeling, the discomfort, the urge to fill the space as quickly as possible, or to invite it entirely, or to make something up just so there's an answer. Most of us have spent years trying to manage uncertainty, to reduce the feeling. And we do that by trying to eliminate unknowns. We plan more, research more, consult more, delay more. We work incredibly hard to get to certainty so the discomfort goes away. But there's a problem with that. You can never eliminate all the unknowns. Not in a project, not in a relationship, not in a career. Unknowns are a permanent feature of working with other humans in complex systems towards goals that haven't been reached yet. They will always be there. So if your strategy for managing uncertainty is to eliminate unknowns, you're chasing something you'll never catch. Or as my grandmother used to say, you're chasing your tail. And in the meantime, the chasing costs you a lot. When people and teams and organisations try to eliminate unknowns as a way of managing their uncertainties, some very predictable things happen. Decisions get delayed. The information is never quite complete. There's always one more thing to check, one more stakeholder to consult, one more scenario to model. The project sits in planning. The conversation gets pushed. The decision gets made by somebody else or just by inaction. Safe ideas win. If you need to be certain something will work out before you try it, you only ever try things that look like what's already worked. The unconventional idea, the one that might move things forward, stays in the drawer because you can't guarantee the outcome. People stop sharing half-formed thinking. In teams where certainty is the norm, people learn to only speak when they have a complete defensible position. Which means the early exploratory thinking, the tentative, I'm not sure yet, but I'm noticing something kind, stays private. And you know what? That's often the most valuable thinking there is. The cost isn't just efficiency. It's the quality of what's possible. When you need to eliminate unknowns before you act, you narrow the range of what you'll try. And that narrows the range of what you'll discover. Principle 1 of Weird Wisdom is about getting comfortable with the unknowns. Not resolving them, not pretending they're not there. Getting comfortable enough to move alongside them. Here's what that might look like. When you're trying to eliminate unknowns, your question is, how do I get more certainty? You're trying to reduce the unknown until it disappears, and your energy goes into researching, planning, and controlling. But when you're comfortable with unknowns, your question becomes, what can I do from here with what I know right now? You're not waiting for the unknown to resolve itself before you act. You're moving in relationship with it. And that's a fundamentally different orientation. And when you operate from that orientation, the feeling of uncertainty, that discomfort we've talked about, that hum, starts to lose its grip. Not because the unknown has gone, but because you've stopped treating it as a barrier. You've started treating it as part of the terrain. Think about how you've navigated the most important things in your life. No job came with a guarantee of how it would go. No relationship arrived with certainty of where it would lead. No project ever had a fully predictable outcome. You moved forward anyway. And the capability you built to respond, to adapt, to keep thinking through what emerged, that came from moving, not from waiting until you knew. Let me make this concrete, because there's a difference between understanding this intellectually and using it when you're sitting in a meeting or somebody asks you a question that you don't have the answer to. When you're asked something you can't fully answer, the old response was to hedge, deflect, or to promise to come back with more information. The Weird Wisdom response is, I don't have the full picture on that yet. Here's what I do know, and here's what I'm still working out. That sentence doesn't make you look unprepared. It makes you look open and honest. And more often moves the conversation further than a polished non-answer would. When your team is paralysed by a decision, often what looks like a decision problem is really an unknown problem. Nobody's willing to move because there's something they don't know yet. A useful question might be, what's the smallest action we could take that would tell us something we don't currently know? That question reframes the unknown from a barrier to an experiment, or as I like to say, action-based learning. When you have an idea that's not fully formed, say it. This isn't fully worked out yet, but here's what I'm noticing. That phrase could be one of the most underused in workplaces. Half-formed ideas, offered with honesty about where they are, often generate the conversation that moves things more than polished proposals. If this distinction is resonating with you and you want to work with it in your specific context, this is exactly what Module 2 of Using Your Weird Wisdom course moves through. Not the theory of unknowns, you've got that now, but your relationship with them. Where you're currently spending energy trying to eliminate unknowns rather than work alongside them. We look at what that's costing you and what changes when you question that. The course is built in 3 formats: video, written text, and a workbook. so you can engage in it in a way that suits you. 1 module per week with workbook prompts between. So that's important because there's time to notice what's changing before the next module drops. Details of the course are in the description below. Here's what I hope you take away from this video. The unknown isn't the problem, it's just the gap. It's always going to be there. The question is what you do with it. Whether you exhaust yourself trying to close it before you move, or whether you get comfortable enough with its presence to keep moving anyway. Uncertainty is what happens when you haven't yet made peace with that gap. And that, the making peace part, is a learnable skill. It doesn't require bravado. It doesn't require ignoring real risk. Just requires different questions. Not how do I make this certain, but what can I do from here? Try it this week. Find one thing you've been waiting to know before you act. And ask yourself, what's one small move I could make without needing to resolve it first? Notice what opens up. In the next video, we're going to talk about failure and specifically the workplace story about failure that's costing teams far more than the failures themselves ever would. I'll see you then.